appreciate you jumping on here. We can
Oh,
go
thank you, man.
ahead and get started here. I'll start the recording. All right. All right. Welcome to the Path to Billionaire Success Stories, the podcast that takes you on a journey through the stories, strategies, and insights of remarkable individuals who have achieved greatness in their field. I am your host, Ben Petrowski, and together we'll unravel the secrets, challenges, and triumphs that pave the way to success. Join us each week as we uncover the principles that can help you overcome obstacles, embrace changes, and harness your potential. Get ready to be motivated, challenged, and empowered to embark on your very own path to success. Remember, success is not just a destination, it's a journey. So buckle up and get ready to explore the path to billionaire success stories. I'm here with Joesph Frangos. Is that the correct way to say it?
Sir.
All right. Perfect. All right, Joesph, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and then we'll jump into some questions.
Yeah, absolutely, Ben. And dude, before anything, thank you so much for inviting me on here, man. It's truly an honor, and I really appreciate you reaching out to me, man. So I'm super excited about this.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, man, of course, of course. So a little bit about me. My name's Joesph Frangos. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm an entrepreneur, or serial entrepreneur, if anything. Currently investing in real estate, opening a call center here in Mexico, and I actually live in Mexico. That's how much that we believe in this vision and this business. I do social media, and I do a lot of content with my daughter, as well as content for myself, my own personal brand, and then I do a lot of coaching. So that's me in a nutshell. But my biggest, most favorite title is just dad. That's my absolute everything.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's a great title. Like, dads don't get enough credit. I don't believe that they do get enough credit, and they they hold things together. They're disciplinarians, they're role models, they're lovers. They just show you that core value that people need, and I feel a lot of people are missing, and that's a lot of the issues that we're facing nowadays. And I'm definitely appreciative of you putting out there the videos of where's my dad at and all that. Those are just amazing to me. I love them. I love them.
I appreciate it, bro. Yeah, and it's fun, man. It's fun to just like it's what I look at it like is I'm creating real tangible memories for my daughter to look back at 10, 20, 30, 50 years from now. And even when I'm gone, my grandkids can watch those and be like, that's how grandpa was. Like, man, grandpa
Yeah.
was cool. Like, so it's exciting, man, to see how that
Yeah.
all inspired.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, all right, well, let's just jump right into these questions here.
Let's do it.
All right. How do you define success and what does it mean to you personally?
It's a great question. So success to me is defined by the amount of time and presence that I have with my family. Right. A lot of times we look at success, we hear a lot of people talk about success from a monetary standpoint, right? Oh, $1 million, $10 million, $100 million. And yes, to some degree, that's true. But for me personally, when I think of my success, I look at where's my time at? Am I spending time doing things that I love and things that I enjoy? Am I traveling and doing the things with my family that we get into business for? At least for me, that's what it is, right? And
Right.
so that for me is my definition of success is time and presence, like true
Nice.
presence.
I love
And
that.
the second part of your question, well, say that again.
What does it mean to you personally?
For me personally, yeah, just presence, bro. For me, it's just I look at my own success. I look at the people who are around me who are incredibly successful that I look up to, who are in my circle of influence, and I think about what do we have in alignment. And a lot of times, it comes down to just that: being present with each other, being present with those that we love, even in our own businesses. How present are we in our businesses? Are we distracted? Are we working on things that are progressing and scaling the business? Or are we just doing things that aren't really uh, the best use of our time? And so for me, that's how I approach success.
Right. That's awesome. Very good answer. I love that. Um, what achievements or milestones have you accomplished that you consider to be successful moments in your life?
Boy, some of the milestones, well, I can tell you this much. When we first got started in business, right, frankly, I had no intentions on being an entrepreneur when I got started, okay? My wife is the reason I'm even here now as an entrepreneur, believe it or not. Everybody always assumes that like, oh, Joesph, like this was your idea. Like didn't start out that way. So I give a lot of credit to my wife, like absolutely all the credit. Milestone for us was getting into business. But when we got started in real estate, I started off real estate part-time because I worked the 9 to 5. And for us, the first milestone was clearing $100,000 in our business part-time, doing just various cold calls, bandit signs, text messages, and everything like that for the first 12 months. Like that was mind-blowing to me because I was like, wow, like look at the opportunity in front of us amidst how much little time I had at that moment. Like what could I do with all the time? So that for us was a huge milestone. Putting my job was a milestone. And then getting into like creative finance and Sub2 and all these other, mentorships and growing that way, it only allowed us to gain more knowledge to then reinvest into our own companies, reinvest into our own assets, and start building our own portfolio. Because again, for me, it's about time, right? If I'm looking at time, well, what can I do to gain more time back? Well, it's building up streams of income and getting passive income so that way I can do those things that I enjoy. Next to that, as of right now, the biggest milestone that just comes to mind is us moving to another country, moving to Mexico. Granted, it's not that we live deep into Mexico. We are in a border town, but moving and transitioning our entire family, our roots from what we knew in Tucson, Arizona to here in Nogales, Sonora, opening a company and being able to plant ourselves here and get employees. And then even at the same time, get clientele in the door before we had even opened our doors. That was a huge milestone for us because frankly, when you're an entrepreneur and you're getting into business, there's a lot of risk. And sometimes you don't know what that payoff is going to look like or if there even is going to be a payoff. And that's where that belief has to come in, that self-belief, that internal drive where you say, I'm either going to make it or I'm going to make it. There is no fail. There is no doubt, anything like that. So yeah, for us, it's a lot of these milestones that are to me like seed planting, right? The beginning portions. And then the next milestones are obviously the goal, right? For us, it's, getting to $100,000 in passive income from real estate and real estate only. Like that's our next big milestone is getting enough assets in our portfolio to hit that mark. And then when that happens, obviously we just continue to grow up from there. So.
Right. That's awesome. Very good. How has your definition of success evolved over time?
That's a great question. And I love that question because it just shows like my own personal growth firsthand, right? Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of times we think of success as Rolexes, Lamborghinis, vacations, yachts, right? Material things, right? Like that's what a lot of people look at. They're like, man, if I had that, then the big moment happens. And in the beginning, I looked at that stuff like, oh, man, if I make enough money, I could get a $50,000 watch. I can get a $200,000 car. And then as you start to get money and you start to pay off your debts and you get enough money to live off of your business, you realize really quickly, like, you know what, these material things are cool, but I mean, it doesn't really matter that much. Like eventually I'll die or I'll be too old to squat down and get my Lamborghini and my knees are going to crack. And you start looking around, right? Like it's just not going to work. But you start looking around and you think, man, what makes me? What makes me happy? What makes me thrive? Is it the Lamborghini? No, for me now, when I look at my success, I think about, again, presence. How do I feel? Where's my peace at? Where's my clarity at? Where's my head at? How's my emotional state? Am I being emotional? Am I being logical? I start looking at myself and how my performance is. I look around me at what's going on in my life. I look at the health between my marriage. I look at the health between my relationship with my daughter. I look at all that stuff because that for me is what's important. And so it's cool to see like, yeah, I see the money come in. It's a beautiful thing to make money and be able to provide for your family and do that. But simultaneously, it's like, okay, once the necessities are taken care of and you get to a certain dollar amount, eventually you're like, okay, I want to do more substantial things that mean more to my family. So again, like it's always going to revert right back to my presence, my time, and then most importantly, my energy.
Right. Definitely. Awesome. What role do you believe luck or timing plays in achieving success?
So that's a good one, man. Because I know luck, the word luck has a bad rap, right? And I'm not one to like ever tell anybody like, oh, you got lucky. I do think if anything, timing is going to be the dominator there, right? There is a right time, there is going to be a right place, the right conversation, the right network, the right relationship, but that's all going to be in timing. And I can give you the perfect example. I just went to my brother's pop-up event, Sharktino, shout out to him, in Phoenix, and he had a business partner there named Justin Settle. And had I not been there at that time that I had gone there, I got there an hour early, I would have never met Justin. And now Justin and I have a meeting this week for him to be a client using our call center. And so again, right, timing plays a huge part in everything. And again, I wouldn't call it so much luck. It was just me doing the things that I know I need to do, right? A little bit of sacrifice. I mean, Phoenix isn't a close drive anymore. It's about 4 hours almost to get up there from down here. And so it was all about timing. Would I say luck? I would say luck plays a very small percentage in people's success. Now, I mean, again, it's not like building a business is betting on the lottery. It's not. And you might feel somewhat similar in some cases, especially when you're navigating the risk and you're navigating the opportunity in front of you. But for me, luck is just one of the things that maybe once every year you might get a little lucky. You might have something happen. Maybe you met the right person who's like, I believe in you. And you might see it as luck, but at the same time, I think it's all about the law of attraction. I think it's all going to come down to that timing that you mentioned.
Right. Comes back to that what you said earlier, where you're sowing those seeds over time, and those start to become fruitful for you, you know. And
Yeah.
and definitely, I can definitely agree with that. Um, can you share a specific challenge or setback that you've faced on your journey to success?
Gosh, man, where do I start? For me personally, again, right, like I mentioned earlier, my wife is the one who got us into business. It was a beautiful idea. And during that time of getting into business, there were seasons where I personally, believe it or not, right, I had gone through a lot of self-doubt. I had gone through a lot of seasons of not knowing who I am, what I want to do, and what am I even good at? Like what am I gonna do to make money with my family? Like
Right.
it gets to that point. Even then, like my wife is an incredibly successful entrepreneur on her own. You know, she has her own businesses that she started and done incredibly well. And there was a season in our business, in our lives, where I wasn't producing as much as I could have or should have, and she was overproducing, which is great. And I think that's where the marriage side of things, like this is where communication and relationship plays a part.
Mhm.
But I felt lost. And not to say that I felt lost because my wife's making more money. It was more so I'm pointing that out because it was a blessing. Had she not made that money, then what, right? And so I
Right.
had to go through this journey of anxiety and some slight depression and doubt and lack of clarity on my own. And then I had to go navigate that. And so when I think back to that time of myself, I had to spend a lot of time in this solitary confinement for my own peace, right? I had to spend time alone, which is something that I've not always been fond of, right? At least now I am. I'm very fond of that time with me to know who I am and how I'm doing. You got to do that for yourself because it's important.
Yes, definitely.
But looking at, what I had to overcome to get to where I am now, right? Seeing people enter my life, leave my life, use me for their own gain, and then start to again look in the mirror and be like, I'm looking dead in my eyeballs, no different than I'm looking at the camera, right? Is like, who am I? What am I doing? What do I want to do? Like, is this really what I want to do? And then once that clarity clicked and I went through the motion of talking myself through these things, then in that moment, it's like one day to the next, something clicked in my head and I said, okay, great. And I sat down with a journal and I wrote out everything I want to do, everything that I enjoy, all my goals as clear as possible. I got very defined on what I want to accomplish and what I will accomplish. And from that point on, I haven't had to look back. So there's going to be all these seasons that, either you, Ben, or, you, whoever's watching this, listening to this, you're going to go through these seasons in business that are going to be difficult, that you're going to experience emotion and feelings you've never experienced or felt. You're going to go through these seasons where you may not make a lot of money. You might make a lot less money than you thought you ever would. But that's the moment where you have to dig down and you have to find this internal drive that's going to push you, because that's going to be the one thing that gets you from this level to the next level. And so that and only that is going to be, I think, the one monumental moment in my life, or in, you know, your listeners' lives, that will show them, you know, what they're really made of.
That's awesome. That's something people don't talk about a lot,
Yeah.
is those struggles, those times where you have to dig deeper in and just keep pushing. So
Yeah.
that's definitely awesome. All right, well then let's roll right into this question. What motivates you to keep striving for success, even in the challenging times?
Dude, my family.
Yeah.
And like, my family's everything. My family and the people around me, right? The people that I care about the most. My sole objective in this life is legacy. I mean, you hear me talk about that probably all the time, right? It's like, legacy is everything to me. Whether that's my own family's legacy or the people I'm around's legacy, or even your listeners' legacy. Like, if something I say resonates so much that they can take a little bit of that and apply it to their lives, then that's me impacting their legacy. And so, it's been a very amazing process to look at my family and say, man, I love you guys so much. I want the entire world for you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Family is important.
Yeah.
Whether it's the family you're born into, you bring into, or you choose, those people that are close to you, that's huge. That's a huge push.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a connection between failure and success? How have failures contributed to your growth?
There's an absolute connection. If you think about anybody who's successful, anybody, right? You know, the greatest names in business, the founding fathers of entrepreneurship, and founding mothers as well. You look at everything that everybody's done ever to become successful, they had to go through a set of failures, right? Nobody got to where they are without failing. So, myself included, any of our mentors, anybody that we notice who's at a high level, they had to fail to get there. I mean, I would love for somebody to name one person. And I'm not talking about like trust babies, okay? I'm talking about like legitimate people who've gone through it in business. You look at their stories and it's always some sort of failure that played a huge part of their success, whether it was a failure in business, a failure in life, failure in school, failure in the military, whatever that failure may have come from. That is a huge part of success. And for me, I mean, it is one of the greatest reasons for any of the success that we have is that we have failed. But one of my favorite quotes that I got from Will Smith a long time ago was, fail early, fail often, and fail forward. Because that's going to be the thing that gets you to the next level every single time. It's like when you go to the gym, you're only going to get stronger and better given that you push yourself and your body until failure. And then and only then will you start to see growth.
Very true. Very true. Um, how do you maintain a work-life balance while pursuing your success?
Work-life balance is it's all about scheduling. It's all about your priorities, right? What is a priority to you? If your family is a priority, you will find time and during the day. And if business is a priority, you'll find time during the day. But finding balance is setting up a schedule with your family while simultaneously communicating that schedule to your family. And again, like, there's going to be times in your life where your schedule just might not work. Like, prime example is right now moving into Mexico. We've been dealing with a lot of things here at our house in Mexico with plumbing and, you know, roof issues and electrical. And there's just a variety of things. So it throws off the schedule completely for the business and for the family. But you have to deal with it. And then once you deal with it, you have to communicate with the family. So my wife and I have had to spend a lot of time communicating with our daughter. Hey, here's why we haven't been able to spend as much time with you right now. You know, before school starts, she starts school in a week. So it's like, the reason we haven't been able to spend as much time with you is just because of all these things. So communicating with her, but I think that's the same thing applies to your business as well. As if you have a team, communicate with your team what's going on so that way your team can carry out the mission. If you don't have a team, then this is where you need to, again, communicate with your family. If you don't have a family, that's fine. Then you need to simply buckle down and look at your calendar and look at the things that are important to you that are going to get done, those income producing activities. If it's real estate, Marketing. How are you going to get deals? How are you going to get leads? How are you finding these opportunities? If it's, for me, running a call center, it's making sure that PowerPoints are in place, trainings are in place, the systems are in place, everything is ready and operational, and whether I'm there or not, it can still go on. And so finding that balance is all about schedule and communication.
Yeah, that's something that I'm hearing a lot, is that scheduling, making sure you schedule time for everything, make sure it's on there, make sure you're not just going into it all free will, and just make those schedules precise as possible, and be willing to be flexible, because things happen, things outside of your control happen, and you just have to adapt and overcome it and just continue on.
Yep, exactly.
Definitely. I love that. Have there been any times that you have felt successful but weren't recognized for it?
Um, I mean, here's my thing. Not, I mean, I guess technically yes, but I'm not one who needs recognition from, and I just completely transparent, right? Because I see a lot of interviews where dudes and women will just kind of like navigate questions in a way that's like, I'm always in alpha mode. No, there's times where like I frankly don't really need success praise from anybody around me other than my family. Like I love when I can do something and my family's like, hey, that was great. Like you're doing great, good job. I like that when it comes to my family. And my wife is great about that. My daughter's great about that. My mom and dad are great about that, same as my sister. But the people around me, I don't really need anybody to be like, oh, dude, you're killing it. Like, is it nice when you hear it? Sure. But is it something that I've ever pondered and been like, I didn't get the praise I needed for that. No, not really. And even then, if I never did, it's not something that would play a part in, how my production, right?
Right. That's awesome. That's, because a lot of people there again, they feel that outside praise is what they need. And maybe they do at the beginning to help them gain that confidence personally to push through those times. So, um, how do you deal with the pressures and expectations that come with striving for success?
Quality people. And the reason I say quality people is because I've gone through enough times now in my life as an entrepreneur, as a husband, as a father, that I need good people around me that I can talk to and share things that I'm going through with. Because whenever you're dealing with large amounts of stress, whether that's at your home life, in your business life, in your work life, or all of them, you can't bottle it up. It's not going to help. It's not going to be this like monumental shift in one day where you're like, okay, everything's falling apart. I'm going to figure it out. Like those are moments where you need to find mentors, where you need to find people in your life that you can go talk to. And frankly, people that are at an elevated level with you or slightly above you, because you can lean on them and say, I can't wrap my head around this. I've been dealing with a lot. And so this one thing is really kind of tying up my mental clarity. And those people are going to step in and say, oh, dude, I've been there. This is what you need to do. So for me, that's what's been incredibly monumental. And again, having a strong support system, right? Having a strong family around me who's, always going to be there, even on my darkest days. My wife's been there to walk me through, to kind of talk me through and say, hey, I believe in you. I know you're going to get through this. You've been through already enough in your life. Like this is just another speed bump, right? So you're going to figure it out. And so, yeah, good people in my life, whether that's in my home life, but also my business and personal life.
Right. Right. Got to keep that core strong, that core people strong. So,
yep.
How important is goal setting in achieving success? Do you have any strategies for that?
So goal setting is incredibly important, right? A ship with no direction is just sailing, right? So you need to have direction. You need to know what are you even working towards? Like, how do you even know you've hit a milestone if you've never set a goal? And if you never set a goal, you'll never know truly what you're capable of. What is your capacity? So you need to set simple, achievable goals in front of you that outline where you're going. It gives you direction. It gives you a place to work towards. Because at that point, when you hit that level, then you have the next achievement is going to be right there. It's like you asked me earlier, right, about what things have happened to me, right? What milestones, those milestones are continuously shifting. They're always going up. And so
Mm.
for goal setting, it's incredibly important, right? And I'm sure for you, right, with this podcast, there's going to be a set goal of what you're looking to accomplish from it, a certain amount of subscribers, a certain amount of listens, a certain amount of reshares, replays, right, et cetera. Anything that goes towards the analytics of running a podcast.
Right.
There's goals that you should be, right. You should. I'm not saying you don't have that. What I'm saying is, you guys, anybody listening, you should have goals to work towards, so that way you know where you're at. And if you don't hit those goals, it doesn't mean scrap it. It just means lower it slightly enough, right? I see a lot of people say, I'm going to make $100,000 in a year, but they've never even made $50,000. So it's like, okay, we'll shoot for 50. And if you surpass 50, then that's fantastic and you'll celebrate it. But even if you got the 49, you should still be excited and celebrate it. But now you know that the threshold is 49. And so as for strategies or tips around it, sit down and look at what it is. What are you focused on? What is that one task, that one business, that one thing that you're doing right now? And I know a lot of your listeners are probably in the similar sphere, right, as real estate. If real estate is the business, then work on just getting, in the beginning, one deal a month. Because everybody's always like, I got to do 5 deals a month. Yeah, you will get there, but set the goal of one. And once you have the goal of one, then my little tidbit, little pro tip here is, you want to reverse engineer it. So, okay, if my goal is one deal a month, then what do I need to do to get that one deal? Well, I need to focus on the marketing aspect. I need to focus on having the buyers lined up. I need to focus on getting better at sales. And so, okay, great. If we have a done deal, then in order to get that deal done, we have to have had a title company. Then we have needed to have either a transaction coordinator, or you know how to do the transaction coordination yourself, so you understand the paperwork and the process. After that, it's going to be the buyer. After that, it's going to be the seller. And after that, it's going to be the marketing. How did you even get the lead? So then you reverse engineer it, and then you build yourself up. So then you go, okay, cool. This process is now successful and then repeatable. So then I'm just going to add to that and add to that. And then before you know it, you went from 1 to 3 to 5 to 10. But because you had a system in place. So the same thing with systems is, you have goals. Those goals and these systems work in tandem with each other. So you want to make sure you have that alignment with those two things in place, so that way you can then apply the same process systems to anything else that you're doing in your life or business.
Okay, very good, very good. What are some habits or practices that you've used to help you with your success?
So I can tell you, fitness is huge, incredibly important. I like to call them the 4 F's. Okay, so your faith, right? So for me, that's at least is what I have, is my faith, my family, my fitness, and my finances. So those are the core 4. You want to keep those core 4 strong. But the practices for me is like fitness. I wake up in the morning. Now this is my new schedule of waking up around 5 a.m. And then reading a book, journaling, writing out what I'm going to do for that day, or reconfirming what's going on. And then by 6, I'm going to the gym. And so when I go to the gym, I go with, he's like my little brother, Joel. We go every morning at 6. We work out for an hour and a half. And that for me is very important to get myself that testosterone pump, that flow, and really ground myself for the day. So that way, when I lean into the rest of my day, I'm mentally clear. There's nothing feeling like that's going on. I feel a little less stressed. And I feel more in flow state with myself and the business and life. And so that's really important, is to have that fitness routine in the morning, so you can get that done. Next to that is obviously going to be your dietary stuff, right? What are you putting into your body? And what is that doing for you? If you're giving yourself exactly what it needs, then you'll perform at a higher level. But if you're feeding yourself crap and junk food, then obviously not. Now, I'm not saying I'm the most fit guy in the world, but I will say that I have a pretty good regimen now. And so for me, best practices is journaling, reading, and the fitness side. You want to ground yourself with those 3 in the morning, so that way you can then have a stronger presence throughout the day, and you're more clear-headed.
Nice. I like that. I like the four F's. That's awesome. I love that. So, have you faced any moments of self-doubt or imposter syndrome on your journey? And what did you do to overcome those?
Yeah, I did in the beginning of our entrepreneurial journey, right? Like I told you earlier, we hit the 100,000, plus in our first 11, 12 months. After that, I ended up and I laugh at this version of myself from then now, because I'm
Right.
like, what's wrong with you, bro? Like, and it's like, I was young, whatever you want to call it. It was just ego. But I felt like, okay, cool. I've got some notoriety now in this industry, and people know me, and it felt good, right? That attention. But then you quickly, like I mentioned, right? There's people that see it, they recognize it, they leverage it, and then the minute that they can no longer use it, it dwindles away. And so for me, that self-doubt and this like ego side really built up, and it quickly crumbled. And when it crumbled for good. Thank God, right? Because there's so many times you see people go like this with their fame or with their emotion, with the success they've gotten, and so they find this imposter syndrome. But even now, I don't struggle with that as much as I used to. Self-doubt, there's days where you might have a little moment where your brain something in your mind tries to creep in and be
Mhm.
like, "Oh, you're not capable." But I've learned now, you got to take control of your thoughts. You have to guide yourself sometimes in these dark
Right.
moments where you're like, am I doing the right thing? Is this going to work? Is this what I'm truly meant to do? If that starts popping in your head, you got to learn how to tune it out. And the more practice that you do with that, you'll start to quickly realize that the result is going to be different.
Right. Right. Definitely. How do you handle competition or comparison with others?
So I really, frankly, I don't compare myself a whole lot. Comparison is the thief of all joy. I mean, that's a pretty famous quote, and I agree with it. I think comparison um, is an absolute psychological game for yourself, right? If you start looking at what everybody else has or does, you'll never be satisfied. And I'm not saying that you should never be satisfied. Be proud of what you have and be proud of what you've done, but
Mhm.
continue to grow from there. Um, but for me, I look at the comparison factor. I look at what other companies are doing, not so much from like, oh, I wish I had what they had. I more so look at it from, I can have what they have, and I will have what they have, and I'm going to be the one that other people look at and go, how did he get that? The only difference is I'll be the one who's willing to share that information, because I'm only as valuable as the people around me are. So my goal in life is to be as valuable to those around me, even those who just come in the door and say, "Hey, I just had a couple questions." Okay, great. Let me just see what I can do to help. And so with competition, there's always going to be competition. I love competition. I think it's great. I think it's healthy. And it's great for business, because you can look at what other people are doing around you who frankly are going to be bigger and better. And that's okay, because you can then mimic what they do and then just figure
Mhm.
out how to perfect it, or if anything, even make it better. So
Right.
competition is not a bad thing.
Right. No, it definitely isn't. It helps you. If you look at it in the positive, it can definitely help you. Just like you said, you're going to get information, knowledge from watching and seeing what they do, and you can utilize that in your practices. So, what advice would you give to somebody who's just starting on their journey to success?
Somebody who's just starting. Hmm, that's a really good question. A lot of things kind of flood my mind at once. If you're first now getting started in business or in your journey, identify why you're even doing this.
Mhm.
Why is this even important to you? Is it because you need the money? Is it because you see that there's another possible life for you? Or is there something bigger than that? And there should always be something bigger than that. There should be a purpose behind why you're doing what you're doing. And identifying that purpose is going to give you the drive to do whatever it is in life that you want to do, or why you're even pursuing this level of success that you're achieving for. What is it? It shouldn't be only monetary. Money will come, money will go, but impact is
Mhm.
what lasts forever, right? So, what's the purpose of it? I think that's the most important thing to figure out when you do get into business. It's like not necessarily even your why, but truly the purpose. What is it that's driving you to make that decision?
Right. Very good. Um, has success brought you the fulfillment you expected? If not, Why?
Um, Kind of back to that quote, right? Proud but never satisfied. And I got that from Christian Guzman about 10 years ago. Um, it is fulfilling to see what's more fulfilling than anything. It's not even so much success, Ben, right? It's seeing the success from others that I get to work with or that I get to speak with or engage with, seeing how they are different. That that's what really gives me excitement. Even homeowners and sellers we work with, seeing their excitement, how the process was for them, just seeing the emotion that other people get from working with us or working around us. That's what really gives me that fulfillment, right? Is knowing that at the end of the day, I've made the right decisions, I've done the right things, my family is healthy and happy, right? And the people that I get to work with and be around and talk to on a regular basis, their lives are changing. And again, right, if I play just some small percentage in that, then like that is enough of fulfillment for me. Not so much again the success side. Success is fulfilling, but seeing others fulfilled and happy is what really gives me the success feeling.
Right, right. That's awesome. That is awesome. All right. Final question here. How do you celebrate success? Do you have any rituals that you use to appreciate the achievements that you've gone through?
First and foremost is my wife and I are really big about this. Even with our daughters, just we always give thanks to God for any opportunity in business, any money that comes in, and that's become a really big foundationally like core thing in our household, especially living here in Mexico and seeing how thankful and grateful people are when you give them a little bit of money. They always thank God in that moment for that opportunity, and it's really beautiful to see. And so for us, it's always giving thanks to God, making sure that we give our tithe. But at the same time, it's next to that is like we like going on trips, we like going out to dinner. Disneyland is it's like we just won the Super Bowl. It's like, hey, we're going to Disneyland. Like that's one thing that we love to do. We go once a year minimum, around Thanksgiving time with our daughter. And it's just that's our way of really celebrating any success that we've had throughout the years, just like being able to go on trips and do things and enjoy the fruits of our labor, because you should. Again, my whole thing with the Lamborghini and Rolex thing, if that's how you want to celebrate it, but don't let it be the reason for your demise. For me, it's just the way that my wife and I like to celebrate is going on trips, going to see new places, going out to eat. For me, I love coffee, so it's going to as many coffee shops as I can, wherever I can. And it is right. That's it, man. It's just like enjoying it as a family.
Yeah. And that's awesome. That is something that I'm working on diligently is celebrating that success, not just acknowledging it, but actually taking the time and doing something to celebrate that. And I think starting out, that's a hard thing for me, is just, yeah, like, okay, I've done this, but I know there's so much more. But you have to give yourself that celebration. You have to pat yourself on the back and say, good job. Let's
Yeah.
keep going. You can do this. So
You work hard, man. I mean, you work hard for the things that you've accomplished. I mean, even starting a podcast, like starting an interview style podcast, is not an easy task. There's a lot of people who have the vision, who have the dream, but they have no action. And you have the action. Like that's awesome. So celebrate the success that you have accomplished and celebrate. It doesn't have to be some grand trip, man. I mean, you can go take yourself out to a nice dinner, take your family out to a nice dinner, go on a little mini staycation, go to a hotel or a resort, just have a night and just be like, cool, like, I enjoy this. This is exciting for me. And then
yeah,
before you know it, the celebrations and the reward to yourself, it only gets bigger from there.
right, right. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Joesph, I definitely appreciate you taking the time to jump on here, speaking with us, giving me so much more knowledge and thought processes to consider and look at. Do you have anything else that you'd like to tell the listeners, or anything else?
Just don't be scared. Don't be scared to jump into whatever it is you want to do. But when you jump. Don't go out there with a plan B or feel like you need a parachute. When you go in, go all in on your dreams and those opportunities in front of you. And don't sweat the small stuff. right? Life is always going to have something to throw at you, but the minute you start looking at life like a video game, you can just start figuring out the cheat codes. And once you get to that point, you see how much you can manipulate in this in real time. So go all in on your dreams and bet on yourself.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. Thank you again, Joesph. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate you, man.
All right. Have a good day.
You too, brother.